Look at him. He's judging me. He's fucking giving me the side eye.
It moves at an incredible speed of 1 mile per hour. They're covered in parasites and filled with urea, and even finishing puberty for these sharks takes 150 years.
Excuse me, what? Now I feel bad for him. Greetings, this is your Mayor Varen. Today we'll be reacting to The Deeper You Go, the Creepier Sharks Get by Beyond the Blue. So the last time we reacted to the squids video, right? And that wasn't too bad. It actually didn't trigger my thalassophobia that much. So today we're moving on to sharks. Let's get started.
If you were to take a dive down to the bottom of the ocean, you'd immediately notice that the normal sharks you once saw near the surface were now anything but normal. Their bodies deform, their heads become...
Ew, this is what I talked about last video, the goblin shark. Like, ew, it looks so ugly. Like, why? Why do you evolve to be this way? You know, but there's another thing about sharks though. I don't know why, but shark eyes doesn't creep me out, right? Like the last video, some of the squid's eyes also creep me out, and especially the whales creeps me out. And in terms of just the looks of them, I think the eel takes the crown. But sharks, I know some of them, and they can be pretty creepy. But a lot of them are just ugly. Like, I'm sorry.
noses, and they start to grow teeth in places where they really shouldn't be growing teeth.
Oh, I think this is really cool. That shark's really cool. That the saw, I don't know the name, but the is that its nose? So they have saws on the side, and I think that's cool. I think that's cool.
Intentionally took the ocean's apex predator and instead of making it more intimidating, just made it straight up disturbing. And for some reason, in the deep ocean, weird and deformed sharks aren't a rare find, but are instead the strict baseline for any shark that wants to exist in the deep. Why are these creatures getting more?
Ooh, every time. It isn't as creepy, but still, when you look at predators with scars and blood on their face while you can see their teeth, you know, it kind of triggers you in some way. I don't know if anyone feels the same way, but it doesn't creep me out, but it kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's not fear as well. It's more, I need to respect this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird feeling.
More and more terrifying the deeper you go. And what benefits do these sharks have by not turning into super cool chomping monsters, but instead just straight freaks? Well, to understand what is actually happening to these sharks, we need to understand that the creepiness usually isn't just for show, but actually has some sort of evolutionary purpose of evolution. Look here, this is probably the most default shark in the world, the Caribbean reef shark. And because they live in the highest zone in the ocean, they're basically basic. They reach over 10 feet in length, which is big, and they are fast, and they do bite. But essentially nothing gets more normal than this shark. Being sleek and efficient is the only thing you need to survive at the surface, but even 200 meters beneath the...
Yo, this is what I'm talking about. Like, when he's showing the footage of the reef shark, where everything is brighter, I want to put emphasis on the shade, the shadow, the color that the water looks. Like, in this photo, it's so much different. And this is what creeps me out. And especially the footages deep into the ocean where you can barely see more than, let's say, 2, maybe less than that meters away. Those are the footage or images that creeps me out like a lot. It's scary to me.
The surface, you can already see the creepiness phenomenon starting to affect the sharks. At the bottom of the epipelagic zone, we find the basking shark, which is... what even is this?
Wait, I thought that would be a lot deeper. It reminds me of whales. What's the name for it? Shit. So the whale who opens up their mouth and filters through seawater, right? So they eat maybe small shrimps, fishes, and stuff like that. It reminds me of that. So I thought it would be much deeper than this. Huh.
What even is this? The basking shark is massive, up to 40
it's
feet
big.
long. Its mouth opens so wide that you could genuinely fit inside. But despite looking like it's supposed to swallow reef sharks whole, it's actually very peaceful. They're filter feeders, so they don't even hunt anything larger than plankton. Super peaceful. Unless you're the plankton. Their mouths are honestly comically large if you're not weirded out by it. But why bother evolving such a large mouth if all you're going to swallow is...
Okay, it's coming to face. When it coming at you, like this photo right here, it does look kind of creepy. And it's almost alien-like. You know what I mean? If you single out the mouth and just cut out everything else, it looks like a hallway in a alien spaceship or something. And again, look at the water surrounding the shark. Like for me right now, it's not the shark that's creeping me out. It's the water around him. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's a irrational fear. That's why I couldn't. Maybe it's just a fear of the unknown. But I don't fear dark. That's the weird part, right? I've gotten over that. But this... you know, the shade and just the lack of visibility and knowing that this is in the water makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Microscopic organisms. Well, the mouth size isn't despite the tiny prey, but because of it. Plankton is everywhere in the ocean, but it's extremely dilute. A single plankton isn't worth a meal. Obviously, even hundreds of them barely make a difference. So for an animal to survive on a plankton diet, it either has to be very small or absolutely massive. Small animals don't need much energy, but for a giant like the basking shark, this becomes a lot more complicated. The basking shark needs to eat over 50 kilograms of plankton every single day to survive. But due to its size, this is simply impossible as a normal shark. So instead, they swim with their mouth open and catch everything they can. Over 2,000 liters of water enter the shark's mouth when they do this, but to keep only the plankton, it uses its gills to filter the water and trap the microscopic organism.
Oh, I was gonna ask, where does the water go? That's so weird, like the design. Imagine your lungs filtering out the air to keep microorganisms inside you to feed on them. That's so weird. It felt familiar at first because I know about the whale that does basically the same thing. But when you think about it in human terms, it becomes very weird. Like, who designed this? And why? You know, why?
This phenomenon is called filter feeding gigantism, which is self-explanatory. If you filter to feed, you become a giant. Other animals, like baleen whales and manta rays, also evolved the strategy of using their gills to filter. And for this reason, they have massive mouths as well. This animal is so big that it's basically too big for anything to try and fight it. It's weird, but it's safe weird. It's giant and nothing eats it.
So it feels like there is... I'm wondering what the evolving process was. Because you either have to be very small, so you don't need much, or you become very big so that you can swallow up a lot, right? And also, since you're in the water, bigger organisms can move more efficiently and cover more ground. How do evolution find the perfect balance? You know? How does your body respond or evolve into this thing that has more advantage in your current ecosystem? Yeah, I feel like that's the interesting part, because if I remembered it correctly, the hypothesis of why megalodons went extinct is because the lack of prey, right? How did they not evolve to fit in the new changed ecosystem? You know what I mean? Maybe it happened too fast or something like that. But again, I'm just fascinated, I'd say, about just how the evolution process went. How did some of them never really evolved that much, but still were able to survive? Some evolved a lot to fit in a new ecosystem, but there was also a lot that just didn't make it. And I understand the idea of survival of the fittest, but my question is more about just how it began, stopped, succeed, or even failing. You know, do we know much about how evolution happens? It seems a bit random, don't you think? But somehow randomly, it has produced a whole lot of interesting results like us, you know?
This shark is probably the most disturbing one you'll find in the epipelagic zone, and it's honestly not even actually dangerous. But once you enter the twilight zone,
cool.
the sharks here have been completely deformed by the creepifying effect. This is the saw shark, named because its head looks like a saw. I honestly don't know who thought putting teeth on its nose instead of its mouth was a good.
Wait, those are teeth? Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, bone structures, calcium. Yeah, sure. But why? Like swordfish? Is that how they hunt? You know, just shake their heads and cut their prey or something like that?
Good idea. But unlike a lot of other things in nature, this shark actually works like a saw. When the saw shark finds its prey, it uses its snout to either tear it or
it
trap
really
it.
does that.
So
That's
why
so
evolve a
cool.
saw instead of just biting like all the rest of the sharks?
Exactly.
Well, in the twilight zone, everything is just dark, so the saw shark can't really rely on its eyes to hunt. So instead, it uses its nose to catch its prey. It's packed with sensory organs that can detect the tiny pulses of fish hiding in the sand, allowing the shark to find prey even when it can't see them. But finding prey is only half the problem. In the dark, actually getting a precise devious chomp is a lot harder. So once the shark finds its prey with the saw then becomes a weapon. Instead of trying to bite in the dark, the saw shark violently swings its snout from side to side, hitting or trapping prey with the teeth along its nose. Not really like an actual sawing motion, more like a kid who doesn't actually know how to use a saw. It's definitely using the saw as a weapon though. Of course, it does have teeth inside its mouth, but they're not responsible for the initial tearing of prey. But if you go all the way to the bottom of the Twilight Zone, there's another shark with a giant mouth. This is the megamouth. It's named like this because...
Ew. This reminds me of the goblin shark, because why do they... It almost seems like they have a protruding mouth. I know the goblin shark is because it functions like a spring, right? To catch prey, if I remembered it correctly. But for this guy, he's a chonky guy. Why the big mouth?
Well, its mouth is mega. Now, we just saw that in the epipelagic zone, the basking shark also had a giant mouth. So, what's the difference between these two?
Why is the megamouse judging me? Look at him. Wait, let me get out of the way. Look at him. He's judging me. He's fucking giving me the side eye.
Well, the basking shark does have a huge mouth, but it's also a huge animal. It can grow up to about 12 meters long, so the mouth looks big, but not ridiculously big compared to the rest of the body. Okay, well, it's still ridiculously big, but you'll get my point. The megamouth, on the other hand, is much smaller, usually around 4 to 5 meters long. Its mouth is enormous compared to the rest of its body, being over 1.3 meters wide. Just like the basking shark, the megamouth also feeds on tiny prey, specifically krill. But instead of just letting water enter its mouth, it sucks in water full of krill, and then it does the same filtering process as the basking shark. One theory suggests that, because the inside of its mouth reflects light, the megamouth might keep its mouth open in the dark waters to attract krill instead of swimming toward them. But this shark is actually super rare, so we're not really sure.
But why the teeth? You know, I thought it would be used as a tool or something, because if you're eating krills and almost swallowing them, why do you need teeth? And also, why did it evolved to have reflecting properties on its tongue and not on the exterior? You know, why? Like it seems so random. It's so weird. Nature is so weird.
And all that we have right now are just theories. We know a lot more about basking sharks since they're way closer to the surface, but even though megamouths are only in the twilight zone, it makes them hundreds of times more difficult to research. There's only ever been around 110 sightings ever. So what could be even deeper than this? Once you get...
It doesn't even seem that deep. Like, look at this. This is the second zone in the twilight zone. Like, what? Yeah, again, like I said in the previous video, why are we not doing more deep ocean explorations?
Past the twilight zone, you'll enter the midnight zone, where you'll encounter this thing, the goblin shark. It has this long nose, as you can pretty obviously tell, and pink semi-translucent skin, which already makes it look pretty nasty. But the creepy part about this shark actually isn't the nose, at least not the main one.
It's mouth.
The jaw. When a fish has the misfortune of getting close to a goblin shark, the shark just waits and...
Yeah. Oh, look at that. It kind of looks like Homer Simpson.
The goblin shark is slow, and if you're slow, you'll never catch anything. So the shark made its jaw fast instead. Since deep-sea creatures are rare, energy is at an all-time low. It can save energy until and only until it needs to hunt, with only its jaw. Instead of making the whole body fast, the shark can just do almost nothing even when hunting in the deep and save as much energy as possible. The design is actually really efficient. The shark doesn't waste energy constantly swimming at high speeds or chasing food over long distances. Most of the time, it can simply glide slowly through the dark water, conserving energy. Then, when the opportunity appears, it takes it. You can't afford to waste energy on a missed meal this deep in the ocean. Okay, cool. But what on earth is that ridiculous nose for? It's basically just another sensory organ for electric signals, especially since at this point in the midnight zone, it's so deep that there isn't even a faint light from above. It's completely black. So no, they're not evil witches. And no, they didn't tell a crazy lie. At least, we're pretty sure.
Yeah, and that's another thing about animals being able to do sonar, like echolocation shit, and even electric signals from muscles. Like, what? Just how? How do you even evolve into that? Again, it is so fucking random. And I feel like they survived because they hit the evolution lottery ticket, you know? Because everything seems so random, but when they exist, it kind of makes sense. Do we even know about other cases where it doesn't make sense? Maybe from fossils or something like that? With that logic, right? If it's truly random, there would be a lot more failures, no? So I feel like there's either a lot more failures that we didn't know about, or the evolution process is influenced somehow. And again, that boils down to the same question of how does this evolution system works in the first place?
We don't really know their population at all, but there's very few sightings. It's actually believed that may be somewhat common, but only in the deep. These sharks don't really come to the surface at all, so a human will never see one through normal means. At the very bottom of the midnight zone is a shark that somehow has an even weirder body than a giant nose. This is the frilled shark, but this shark doesn't actually look like a shark. It looks like an eel, but an eel with 300 sharp teeth arranged in 25
I fucking hate eels.
rows. But despite having so many teeth, it actually eats something super soft: squid. Since squid are slippery, the frilled shark evolved teeth that are divided into 3 long, sharp, trident-shaped points. So when a squid touches its teeth, it's trapped. Because deep-sea squid are incredibly fast and famously slippery, the frilled shark had to evolve something different. Each of those 300 teeth is divided into 3 long, needle-like trident-shaped points. The shark floats silently in the dark abyss, and when a meal gets close enough, it lunges forward to strike like a snake. Once the slippery squid even grazes those back...
Yeah, I was gonna say, it kind of looks like a snake, like a oversized snake with actual teeth.
with curving teeth, it's completely hooked. The more the squid struggles, the deeper it gets snagged, making escape practically impossible. If a normal shark like a great white or a tiger shark tried to catch a deep sea squid this way, ignoring the fact they'd die from the pressure, it wouldn't really work as easily. If you're trying to bite down on a slippery squid with teeth designed to slice and not trap, the prey can easily squeeze right out of the shark's mouth before it gets fully swallowed. There is another shark also found at the bottom of the midnight zone, and it—
Wait, before that, so a great white would die under pressure. I actually did not think about that. What makes them able to survive in such depth? Bone structure? Organs? Their gills? I feel like everything has got to be different, right? Because your entire body is handling the pressure from every angle. Like, ooh, that is a interesting thing to think about. Is it purely material? So how their bodies are made, maybe bones or organs or their flesh or something like that? Or is there some structural, inside their body that allows them to survive? Because now thinking about it, it doesn't really matter if it's structural or material, right? We could, on paper, learn something from these creatures and how they were able to survive, no? Shouldn't we be able to extract information from them in order to help us explore the deep sea better? I don't know.
might be the weirdest shark of all, the Greenland shark. And no, they aren't only limited to living in Greenland.
So
These
why is it
sharks
called
are
Greenland?
nasty, extremely old and blind. And if you saw our video on Greenland sharks before, they're actually somehow apex predators.
What? Look at the body composition. Why is it grinning? Look at it. Ooh. Okay, this one creeps me out a little bit. It looks so weird. I mean, it still looks like a shark. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, the body composition and the position of the fins, right?
It moves at an incredible speed of 1 mile per hour. They're covered in parasites and filled with urea. And the reason why they're blind isn't even because they were born that way. It's just that every single Greenland shark has had its eyes eaten out by parasites.
What? What is this? The dung eater of the deep sea? And again, evolution, what the hell? Why are they covered in parasite? And why did it not evolve something to fight it off? And also, why did it let their eyes get eaten by parasites and not just evolved into some creatures that doesn't have eyes? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? It sounds like a typical mob you would see in, what is it? Dark Soul 2, I think? The disease-ridden village type setting, but in the deep sea. Like, why?
But it doesn't care. At the bottom of the midnight zone, you don't even see light anymore. So the Greenland shark instead relies fully on an insane sense of smell and electric fields to find carcasses or animals that are far away. Unlike all of the other deep sea sharks here that only live around 50 years, Greenland sharks live for about 400.
What the
so
fuck?
basically, there could be Greenland sharks swimming today that were already alive when the Mayflower landed. At this depth, the cold basically slows down everything. Your heart beats more slowly, you digest food slowly, and even finishing puberty for these sharks takes 150 years.
Excuse me, what? 150 years of puberty? Okay, this frame makes sense now. Bro, imagine 150 years of your high school? Bro, now I feel bad for him. His body composition is ass, his eyes doesn't work. He's slow. he 150 years of puberty. Oh, I feel bad for him.
Finishing puberty for these sharks takes 150 years. This shark spends almost all its life drifting through the coldest parts of the ocean, looking for carcasses and waiting a really long time until the day it dies. So, what lies even deeper than this? Beneath the midnight zone is the final zone of all normal parts of the ocean, the abyssopelagic. This zone is so deep that even most deep-sea sharks can't even survive. It's deep for even specialized deep-sea creatures, except a very select few. This is the cookie cutter shark, and although it's nowhere near the biggest shark we've mentioned, it's probably the most evil. Most sharks are predators, but this one is classified as a parasite and is the only known living shark that's classified as one. They're only about 20 inches long and fits on your arm, but instead of hunting and tearing a prey, the cookie cutter shark uses its teeth to scoop out a perfectly circular chunk of flesh. A perfect circular chunk. Animals near the surface are often seen with circular wounds on their bodies caused by the cookie cutter shark.
What?
We've seen marks on swordfish, boats, whales, and yes, they do attack humans despite being deep sea, since they sometimes swim up to the surface at night. Fortunately, almost all cases happened in Hawaii, so you're actually safe. Well, unless you live in Hawaii. But why go so deep if they're still hunting at the surface?
Yeah.
Well, during the day, the deep ocean provides a safe hiding place from larger predators, and the freezing water slows down their metabolism to help them conserve energy. Remember that these sharks aren't that large, and they will pretty easily get killed by larger and more directly violent predators. They're only found at the very top of the abyssopelagic at the deepest, and come up at nighttime. So, we've reached the bottom of the typical deep sea. What could possibly go deeper than this? Well, if you've seen any of our other videos, you'd know it's not really possible for much life to live past this. We are entering the deeper stretches of the abyss. There's no sharks left down here simply because they can't handle the force. Except for one. The deepest living shark ever recorded, a predator capable of surviving thousands of pounds per square inch of pressure. This is the Portuguese dogfish. Found deep in the ocean, this shark is one of the few sharks that can handle the deep. So how does this shark not just die?
This looks like an alien. Look at it. It looks like an alien. If it's not documented as a real creature, I'd say this is a prop that is made for a film or a concept for a creature or something. Like look at it. It doesn't even look real.
Well, about 30% of its body is just liver. This enormous organ is packed full of a special, low-density oil called squalene. Because oil is lighter than water and doesn't compress easily under pressure, this giant organ gives the shark perfect neutral buoyancy, allowing it to float in the dark without wasting energy. At this depth, you can't really choose what to eat or not, so the Portuguese dogfish eats literally anything it finds. It can spend days without eating a single meal. Its eyes are notably large for its body size, because even though it's pitch black, any faint glow of bioluminescence is something it has to spot. It may not find any other life for months if it doesn't. They're not fast, and they're not very aggressive either. The Portuguese dogfish is what you get if you strip away the muscle, the speed, and the power of a normal shark, leaving only the absolute basics it needs to exist and still be a shark. But you're probably wondering, the ocean is deeper than this. Why aren't there any sharks truly at the bottom of the ocean? Why do they seem to cap out at the 3,700 meter mark? At Haddle depths, or even lower abyssal, the water pressure is so unimaginably intense that it physically crushes the proteins in the cells of an animal. So, deep-sea fish have a chemical called TMAO, which helps the cells stay stable. As depth increases, you need more TMAO, and at extreme depths, you'd need so much TMAO that it starts messing with how the body works.
What the fuck? Yeah, so I'm correct. My uneducated guess was correct. That there is something about their structure and material, seems like both, contributes to how they were able to handle such pressure in the deep ocean. Could we not harness that in some way or another? Again, uneducated assumptions, but it seems to make sense in my head.
This is okay for other fish, but sharks have a flaw. They already start with a high amount of TMAO on their bodies, even for surface level sharks. So if a shark tried to cross into the lower abyssal or even the haddle, their bodies may survive the pressure with the TMAO level. But the TMAO would literally kill their body's function before then. Their rigid bodies are also a problem. Unlike gelatinous animals like snailfish, which survive by basically being squishy bags of water, a shark's body simply can't deform in the same way, while still being a shark. They have muscle, thick tissue, and a skeleton. Under that much pressure, their rigid bodies would just collapse. The shark build simply isn't designed for going that deep, no matter the adaptations, unless the adaptation is just not being a shark. Interestingly, most of these sharks were actually found completely accidentally. Even the megamouth wasn't known until it got tangled in a US Navy sea anchor. If this is what we found by accident, there is a small chance that there are other sharks we don't know about that actually reach the lower abyssal.
There's gotta be more, right? I don't think we've explored it enough.
Something that definitely wouldn't look like a great white or a megalodon, but more like the empty squishy shell of what we can barely define as a shark. Well, I don't know, but you and I definitely both won't be seeing it anytime soon. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, again, this is what freaks me the fuck out. Look at the background of this footage. Like, the sharks are definitely creepier than the squids, but man, it makes me so uncomfortable. But yeah, I just feel like there is so much to explore down there, but we're so focused on other planets. I mean, they're also equally intriguing, I'd say, but why not explore what we already have, you know, that is around us every day? Well, in Hawaii, right? Ew, that, like, I did not respond to it, but I would hate that shark. It looks so disgusting, and it cuts a perfect circular chunk of flesh off of you. Like, ew. And again, how the fuck did it evolve to stay in the deep ocean, to slow down its metabolism, to conserve energy, and then swim up to hunt? Where? I feel like in a lot of cases, we're looking for reasons as to why they are designed this way, but I feel like there's not much answer to why did it become this way in the first place. And I don't fault anyone for that, because they're the same as humans. Like, why did we get rid of our tails? I feel like a third limb would have been very useful and imbalancing too, because we have the bones for it. No, we have a tailbone. We still have it. Again, it seems so random. But yeah, that has been a very interesting video. I love these type of stuff. I'm surprised at just how well I was doing, actually, handling my thalassophobia. But yeah, next time we'll be doing the eel ones, and that I am not too confident that I'll be able to handle it. But yeah, as always, the link to the original video will be down in the description. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.